Hello, my friends. This is Dr. Daud. He is one of the great scholars, as I perceive. And could you introduce yourself just in 2 minutes?
My name is Daud Matthews. I'm almost 76 years old. I embraced Islam in 1970, and I was married in Pakistan in 1973, and I went to Saudi Arabia 1974 to 1997. Came back to the UK, and I've been active in Dawah from 1986, and I'm still plodding along, just doing a little from time to time now.
Yeah. Could you please talk about the difference between the culture, especially the culture in Arab countries, and the real Islam from your perspective?
It's always difficult to separate the culture from the religion because the practice is there, and you have to go back and identify whether it's the right practice or not. And unfortunately, there are certain things which have grown up, like in Saudi Arabia, women can't drive. And I've always tried to explain that in the past, as women are like jewels and should be protected. And as such, if they were driving in the country, and it's a vast country, a lot of empty areas, if the car broke down, they would be at risk. So in that sense, I've said that they're protected and they shouldn't actually drive, okay? But as the cities get developed, and there's now more need for movement of women, and they're also actually now getting women to work as a workforce, or into the workforce. The problem with that is, of course, that they can't move from one town or one city to another unless someone drives them, and that's not always practical. So there is another problem in terms of the movement of possible women workers. So again, we see a problem here, and we do know that there are a lot of women business ladies in Saudi Arabia, and they've got their own banking departments, so that it's women only for them. And this is very good, of course, but it shows that the culture there is that the women do work or employ people to work, and they do run companies, and that they are a force there, but it's an unseen force to a certain extent. Some of them now are getting websites, and they are actually expanding themselves a little, okay, but this is few and far between. That hasn't gotten done too much yet, but I expect that will get a little more in the future. I don't see it going backwards, I see it going forwards, and that's probably a good thing. And now they've got more women getting educated, and they've got more universities and so on and so forth. But I don't know about the women getting into working positions. That's going to be difficult too. That will be a longer time coming. In the UAE, for instance, you've got women in the shops, in the stores, and I don't think that's quite cottoned on yet in Saudi, but it may be coming, who knows, okay? The other problem is that men are always considered the dominant force, and the women are considered to be subjugated to the men, and this is all over the Muslim world, certainly by Westerners. Whether it's true or not, in some cases it's highly problematical, but at least that's the concept at the moment. And if it is true, then it has to be cultural, because it's not in Islam. So there are these things. There are also some sort of movements coming up. Salafiyya is a relatively new movement, and that's becoming dominant. When I went to Saudi in 1974, it was Hanbali, and there were very few Salafis, but that seems to be changing now. There seem to be more Salafis, and that's being exported around the world, and I'm not quite sure that that's a good thing, because they seem to be wanting to keep things to themselves. But I understood there was a change with the Salafiyya. They only went down as far as the Tabayeen, but now I understand that if there is nothing in the earlier records and there is something in the later records, then the later records can be used. So I couldn't understand how the likes of the four-grade Imams could just be written off by the Salafiyya because they were outside the Tabayeen. So that was a problem for me anyway, and it would be a problem if that was still true. But I understand now if they do accept these rulings, if it goes down that far, then there's nothing in the earlier records. So that's a positive move to my mind, and I think that would reconcile them to a lot more people, and they would begin to sort of understand it a little bit better. But, I mean, that's only one group. There's so many other groups. There's the Sufis, there's the Tablighi Jamaats, and so on and so forth. And what we really need in the Muslim Ummah is unity. We don't have a Muslim Ummah. We have a fractionated Muslim Ummah. It's a whole group. It's a whole series of different groups, and it is a mismatch. They're not united. They're not following the same objectives, and this is one of the problems. If we're worshipping Allah and our objective is to worship Allah while we're on earth, then why are we not working together to do that and make it easy for everyone to unite ourselves and be stronger in the Deen and as an ummah? We don't have an ummah, and people like the Rohingyas, whatever they are, in Burma or Thailand, that can be overrun or anything done to them, and who's doing what about it? The only ones I see on the internet is a group in America that's actually taking it up. But where are the world leaders? Why aren't they taking it up? Thailand is not such a country that it can be independent and exist without anyone else's help. And if they could get some world leaders to speak up, then surely that would make a difference. But why isn't it done? Are these people Muslims or not? And if they're Muslims, are we Muslims or not? Where is the difference, and why is the difference? Who's making the difference? And these are the sort of issues that need to be addressed. Why aren't we trying to unify? Why aren't we talking within the groups in Islam to try to see if we can come closer or not? I'm not saying we have to come closer per se, but we need to strengthen the Ummah, and one way would be to bring groups closer together, have the same sort of objectives and same ideals we should have anyway, because that's Islam. So where's the change? And why is there a change? You know, if we can't answer these questions, then we're going to always be divided and weak. And the issue now in the West is to divide the Muslims on a country basis, practically. France gets its problems, Britain gets its problems, the Muslims in Holland get their problems, the Muslims in Sweden get their problems, the Muslims in Denmark get their problems. Everyone gets their problems, okay? But why is it that we can't get a unified approach to these problems, and why is it that we can't help one another, or even talk about helping one another, or even just giving a response which supports one another? How much do we have to do after all? You know, we could do a lot more, and a lot more needs to be done. The problem is that it's the youth that are going to suffer, especially in the West, because Islam is being changed, it's being forced, or the Muslims are being forced in fear of all sorts of problems on them, to actually not be seen to be practicing their religion. And that is a disaster.
Thank you very much. We will start with you now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.